Scars carry a story that is often far deeper than what meets the eye. They are physical marks that record moments of struggle, survival, and endurance, and each scar has its own narrative embedded in pain, resilience, and recovery. In the context of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart during training, the scar on her abdomen represents far more than a physical injury. It symbolizes the battles she has faced, the hardships she has endured, and the inner strength that has allowed her to persevere despite adversity. Scars are unique because they convey authenticity. They are not fabricated or exaggerated, but literal evidence of experiences lived and challenges overcome. Unlike medals, trophies, or accolades, which can sometimes be earned without true struggle, scars are inescapable reminders of personal trials. They are proof of vulnerability and courage, intertwined in a single mark. The moment when the recruit's scar was revealed to the room illustrates this profoundly. The observers had intended to provoke discomfort, perhaps even shame, assuming that exposure would weaken her presence and confidence. What they did not anticipate was that the scar would command attention, not for the sake of pity, but as a visible testament to her survival and fortitude. The human tendency is often to judge based on appearances, to underestimate or misinterpret physical indicators, and to fail to recognize the deeper stories they may convey. In this case, the scar revealed a history of challenges and triumphs, silently communicating lessons that the recruit did not need to vocalize. It demonstrated that endurance is not always obvious until it is placed under scrutiny, and that the experiences that shape a person's strength are often invisible until a defining moment brings them to light. Scars also serve as a powerful psychological tool for both the individual and observers. For the person who bears the scar, it becomes a source of identity, a reminder of the battles fought and the resilience cultivated. It instills confidence grounded not in imagined strength, but in lived experience. Each scar reminds the bearer of past survival, reinforcing the capacity to confront current and future challenges with the knowledge that they have already overcome significant obstacles. This internal reinforcement is particularly potent in high-pressure environments such as military training, where mental toughness is as essential as physical ability. The recruit's scar, therefore, functioned as both a symbol and a source of power, enabling her to stand tall and maintain composure even in the face of mockery or attempts to humiliate her. For observers, scars challenge preconceived notions of vulnerability, weakness, or fragility. When people are confronted with visible evidence of past trials, assumptions about capability are often overturned. In the moment when the colonel, an experienced leader accustomed to witnessing injuries and adversity, looked away from the scar, it highlighted the profound impact of visible resilience. Even someone trained to remain composed in the face of trauma was compelled to acknowledge the significance of the mark, understanding that it represented more than a wound. It represented survival, courage, and enduring strength. The scar's presence transforms a space psychologically, shifting attention from superficial judgments to recognition of the deeper reality. It teaches a lesson that can rarely be conveyed by words alone. Experiences, especially painful ones, forge the character, resilience, and capability of an individual in ways that are tangible, undeniable, and lasting. Scars are also deeply personal, bridging the internal and external. While they are physically visible, their meaning is embedded in personal narrative. The recruit's scar carried a story of endurance that no one else fully knew, but that could be sensed through her composure, confidence, and the aura of quiet strength she projected. In this way, scars act as both testimony and teacher, conveying lessons about courage, perseverance, and the human capacity to endure and thrive despite adversity. Furthermore, scars disrupt assumptions. They remind observers that visible strength or fragility may not align with actual resilience, that experience often outweighs appearance, and that the underestimated often possess capacities forged in previous trials. The scar is a symbol of authenticity, resisting superficial evaluation and forcing recognition of the individual's true strength. It also represents continuity and identity, linking past challenges to present capability, reinforcing the idea that resilience is cumulative and observable in moments that test composure and courage. For those who witness a scar in moments of high emotional or social tension, it can evoke surprise, respect, or awe. Observers are often reminded that the human body and spirit can endure more than anticipated, and that the visible remnants of struggle are not weaknesses but marks of power, survival, and tenacity. In essence, a scar is more than a wound. It is a testament, a story, a declaration of perseverance and resilience that transcends immediate judgment and reshapes perception, demonstrating that true strength is often written on the body, visible to those who look beyond superficial appearances. Attempts to humiliate often reveal the true strength of an individual, and this principle becomes especially clear in high-pressure environments where judgment, expectation, and social dynamics intersect. Humiliation, by its nature, is intended to undermine confidence, provoke emotional vulnerability, or expose perceived weakness. In the case of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart during training, the attempt to embarrass her was meant to intimidate and provoke a reaction, yet it became the very catalyst that highlighted her resilience and fortitude. Humiliation can serve as a mirror, reflecting societal assumptions, biases, and underestimations back at the individual. The observers assumed that exposure, vulnerability, or the revelation of a scar would weaken her presence, diminish her confidence, or make her falter. They expected discomfort to translate into hesitation, fear, or submission. What they did not anticipate was that she had cultivated a deep internal reservoir of strength, built through prior challenges, preparation, and mental conditioning, which allowed her to maintain composure and respond with unwavering presence. The act of attempting to humiliate someone inadvertently tests not only their emotional resilience, but also their ability to remain centered and assert control in situations where social pressures and expectations are manipulated against them. In this context, true strength is demonstrated not through retaliation or aggression, but through calmness, focus, and the ability to project confidence despite the circumstances. The exposure of her scar, intended as a moment of weakness, instead became a moment of power. Her scar told a story of survival, recovery, and determination that could not be diminished by mockery. While the observers sought to provoke vulnerability, the recruit transformed that intended humiliation into a display of courage and composure that demanded respect. This scenario illustrates a broader psychological principle. Attempts to shame or humiliate are only effective if the target allows the judgment of others to dictate their emotional state. Strength emerges when an individual anchors themselves in their own experience, skills, and sense of self-worth, rather than in the fluctuating opinions of others. The recruit's actions demonstrated that true resilience is both internal and performative. Internally, she maintained emotional stability and mental clarity, ensuring that the intended humiliation did not erode her confidence. Externally, her posture, calm demeanor, and the quiet power she radiated communicated to observers that their attempts at undermining her had failed. There is also a dynamic of social psychology at play in such moments. Human beings are wired to interpret signals of vulnerability, power, and composure, often adjusting their perceptions based on these cues. When an attempt at humiliation is met with strength and calm, it creates a cognitive dissonance for observers, forcing them to recalibrate assumptions about the individual's capability and resilience. In the recruit's case, even the colonel, a figure accustomed to witnessing adversity and injuries, was compelled to acknowledge the significance of the scar and the composure with which it was displayed. The attempted humiliation became a lesson not just for her, but for everyone present, illustrating that power and capability are revealed most clearly under conditions designed to provoke weakness. Furthermore, the scenario underscores the role of preparation and self-awareness in overcoming attempts at humiliation. The recruit's prior experiences, training, and mastery over her own emotional responses allowed her to convert a potentially destabilizing event into a demonstration of competence and confidence. This highlights an essential truth about human performance. Adversity and social pressure can either undermine or elevate individuals, depending on their internal resources, focus, and readiness to act decisively. The act of attempting to humiliate someone is often predicated on an assumption that external judgment can destabilize internal strength. The recruit's response challenges that assumption, proving that strength cultivated through experience and preparation is resilient to external manipulation. Additionally, humiliation in high-stakes environments is a tool often employed to test boundaries, measure reactions, and observe composure under scrutiny. When an individual responds with dignity, precision, and calm, it transforms the intended test into a demonstration of mastery over both self and circumstance. The recruit's ability to maintain focus, control her reactions, and convey authority despite being physically exposed and socially challenged exemplifies how true strength manifests in the face of deliberate attempts at degradation. In this way, the act of trying to humiliate becomes a moment of revelation, stripping away superficial assumptions and revealing the depth of resilience, mental fortitude, and courage. It shows that external attempts to provoke weakness cannot override internal mastery, and that strength is most visible when it emerges in situations where it is most expected to fail. Ultimately, the incident demonstrates that the true measure of an individual's capability is revealed not in moments of comfort or safety, but in moments where humiliation, doubt, or challenge is directed against them, and the response on courage is demonstrated not in comfort, but in moments of vulnerability. And this is particularly evident in environments designed to challenge both physical and mental fortitude. True courage emerges when an individual faces circumstances that threaten not only their performance, but their sense of dignity, self-worth, or social standing. In the case of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart, exposing a scar on her abdomen, the situation placed her in a position of extreme vulnerability, both physically and emotionally. The act of being singled out, mocked, or physically exposed is inherently disorienting and can provoke fear, shame, or hesitation in even the most confident individuals. Yet courage is not the absence of these feelings. It is the ability to act decisively and maintain composure despite them. The recruit's courage was evident in her immediate response. Rather than recoiling, withdrawing, or allowing the humiliation to dominate her focus, she stood firm, demonstrating control over both her body and mind. This ability to face exposure and potential embarrassment without faltering is a hallmark of resilience and bravery, reflecting an internalized strength cultivated through training, experience, and self-awareness. Moments of vulnerability amplify the significance of courage because they strip away the protective layers that often mask insecurity or fear. In comfort, courage is easy to exhibit because risk is minimal and consequences are limited. In contrast, vulnerability heightens stakes, intensifies scrutiny, and demands that an individual rely on intrinsic qualities rather than external validation. The recruit's scar, a visible testament to past struggles, symbolized experiences that had already tested her courage. Facing the present challenge, she drew upon that accumulated strength, demonstrating that true bravery is cumulative, built from confronting adversity repeatedly and internalizing lessons of perseverance and self-reliance. Furthermore, courage and vulnerability is intertwined with composure. The ability to maintain calm, focus, and clarity of thought under scrutiny is critical in transforming potentially debilitating situations into opportunities for demonstration of strength. The recruit's posture, measured movements, and unwavering gaze communicated confidence to the observers, signaling that while she was exposed physically, she remained unshaken mentally. This duality, being vulnerable yet composed, enhances the perception of courage, illustrating that bravery is as much about mastery over one's reactions as it is about confronting external challenges. The social context of vulnerability also heightens the impact of courage. Being observed by peers, instructors, and commanding officers introduces layers of expectation, judgment, and potential ridicule. Courage in these circumstances requires the ability to navigate social pressure, resist the urge to succumb to self-consciousness, and act according to one's principles and training rather than the reactions of others. The recruit's courage was thus amplified by the presence of observers, as each glance, whisper, or expectation became a backdrop against which her composure and resolve were highlighted. Vulnerability also tests moral and emotional courage. Beyond physical exposure, there is a psychological dimension, the fear of judgment, rejection, or misinterpretation. The recruit faced the potential for peers and superiors to form negative opinions based solely on appearances. By confronting the moment with poise, she demonstrated moral courage, acting with integrity, self-respect, and authenticity despite external pressures to conform, react defensively, or appear diminished. Additionally, courage and vulnerability serves as an example and inspiration for others. Observers, witnessing her ability to maintain dignity and strength in the face of exposure and potential humiliation, are prompted to reconsider assumptions about fear, weakness, and resilience. The recruit's actions provided a tangible lesson that bravery is not measured by absence of threat, but by the capacity to respond effectively and maintain one's sense of self when confronted with challenge. The scenario also emphasizes that courage is both situational and personal. Each individual's threshold for vulnerability differs, and the ways in which courage manifests are informed by prior experiences, training, and internal resources. In this case, the recruit's history of confronting challenges, enduring hardship, and developing skill and mental fortitude enabled her to rise to the occasion, converting a moment designed to humiliate into a display of unwavering bravery. Moreover, courage in moments of vulnerability often redefines power dynamics. What may initially appear as an attempt to dominate, belittle, or control can be neutralized through steadfastness, confidence, and deliberate action. The observer's expectations were subverted not through confrontation or aggression, but through quiet, controlled demonstration of capability, reinforcing the idea that courage is both strategic and deeply rooted in self-mastery. In essence, the recruit's experience illustrates that bravery is most authentically expressed not in safe or controlled circumstances, but when one is exposed, scrutinized, and challenged beyond comfort. Vulnerability magnifies the stakes, tests mental and emotional resilience, and creates a setting in which true courage is revealed through composure, decisive action, and the refusal to allow external pressures to dictate one's response. It demonstrates that facing moments of exposure with strength transforms potential weakness into a defining moment of character, teaching that courage is inseparable from the willingness to confront vulnerability head-on. The E of composure, courage, and quiet power. Respect is earned through perseverance, integrity, and demonstrated strength rather than being granted automatically, and this principle becomes evident in situations where assumptions, mockery, or underestimation challenge an individual's credibility. In the case of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart, revealing a scar on her abdomen, the scenario presented an intense test of character and composure. Observers, including peers and commanding officers, had the opportunity to judge her based on appearances, past performance, or perceived vulnerability. However, respect is not built on superficial evaluation. It is cultivated through actions that demonstrate capability, courage, and resilience under pressure. The recruit's response to an attempt at humiliation exemplifies how respect is earned. By maintaining composure, asserting control over her physical presence, and projecting confidence, she signaled that she would not be diminished by external judgment or mockery. This behavior forces observers to reconsider initial assumptions, recognizing that real strength is revealed in moments when one is tested both physically and psychologically. Earning respect often requires confronting skepticism and transforming it into an opportunity to display mastery. In this scenario, the scar on her abdomen was a tangible testament to previous challenges and survival. While some may have viewed it as a vulnerability, her response conveyed that the mark represented endurance, courage, and a capacity to rise above adversity. The juxtaposition of past hardship with present composure reinforced to observers that respect must be grounded in recognition of demonstrated strength rather than assumptions or appearances. Furthermore, respect earned through action is amplified in high-stakes environments, where every movement, decision, and reaction is scrutinized. The recruit's behavior in the face of potential embarrassment revealed not only technical competence, but also emotional intelligence, the ability to manage internal reactions, remain calm under observation, and communicate authority without aggression. Observers are compelled to acknowledge that respect is a reflection of observable qualities, particularly those that emerge when circumstances test confidence, skill, and integrity simultaneously. The dynamics of social perception also play a critical role. Humans tend to evaluate peers based on both actions and reactions to challenges, and those who respond effectively to adversity often gain admiration that exceeds mere tolerance or superficial acknowledgement. In the recruit's case, her actions recalibrated the perceptions of everyone present, shifting the narrative from one of doubt or mockery to recognition and esteem. The colonel's reaction underscores this principle further. Even a seasoned leader, accustomed to injuries, adversity, and high-pressure situations, was compelled to register respect, as the recruit's composure and demonstrated resilience transcended typical measures of capability. This illustrates that respect is relational. It emerges not merely from formal rank or position, but from actions that demonstrate mastery and integrity in contexts where judgment is immediate and stakes are high. Respect is also reinforced by the ability to convert vulnerability into a display of strength. The scenario presented a moment in which observers expected weakness, hesitation, or emotional reaction. Instead, the recruit's deliberate and controlled response created a powerful statement, showing that resilience and capability are not undermined by exposure, but can be highlighted through composure and skill. In this way, the act of earning respect is inseparable from how one navigates challenges designed to provoke doubt or diminish presence. Additionally, respect earned in such contexts has lasting effects, influencing both current interactions and future dynamics. Observers, having witnessed a clear demonstration of strength under duress, are more likely to trust, follow, and defer to the individual in subsequent situations. The recruit's ability to maintain dignity and authority in the face of attempted humiliation established a precedent, reinforcing that respect is cumulative, grounded in observable competence and emotional mastery rather than assumptions or casual impressions. The scenario also emphasizes that respect is intertwined with authenticity. Those who react authentically, drawing upon real experience, skill, and composure, command acknowledgement more effectively than those who attempt to project strength without substance. The recruit's scar symbolized lived experience, and her measured response communicated authenticity, integrity, and capability simultaneously. Respect earned in this manner is self-reinforcing. It validates the individual's internal sense of competence while simultaneously reshaping external perceptions. Furthermore, the process of earning respect through demonstration under pressure teaches broader lessons about leadership and influence. Individuals who earn respect in challenging circumstances are better positioned to inspire confidence, guide others, and set standards for performance. Observers are reminded that true authority and recognition are grounded in demonstrated action and resilience, rather than assumptions, hierarchy, or superficial impressions. Ultimately, the recruit's experience illustrates that respect is not granted because of rank, appearance, or expectations. It is achieved through deliberate action, composure under scrutiny, and the courage to transform moments of vulnerability into compelling demonstrations of strength and integrity, teaching those who witness it the profound value of earned acknowledgement. Physical marks of past battles symbolize mental toughness and determination, serving as tangible evidence of experiences that have shaped an individual's character and resilience. In the context of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart during training, exposing a scar on her abdomen, the physical mark was more than a simple blemish. It was a testimony to survival, endurance, and the countless challenges she had faced prior to this moment. Scars function as enduring reminders that life's trials, both expected and unforeseen, leave lasting impressions on the body and mind. They tell a story that cannot easily be ignored, a narrative of struggle, adaptation, and triumph over adversity. Observers may initially perceive a scar as a weakness, a vulnerability to be exploited or mocked, yet these very marks often signify the opposite: a proven capacity to withstand pain, recover from injury, and continue moving forward despite obstacles. The recruit's scar, revealed in a moment intended to humiliate her, immediately communicated to the room a history of perseverance and strength, challenging assumptions about fragility and capability. Each scar carries its own story, chronicling not just the physical wound but the mental and emotional fortitude required to survive and overcome. In high-pressure environments such as military training, these marks take on an amplified significance. They remind both the bearer and the observers that toughness is cultivated over time, shaped by repeated exposure to challenges and validated through action. The recruit's scar served as a visible bridge between her past experiences and her present performance, reinforcing that mental toughness is inseparable from the trials one has endured. Moreover, physical marks such as scars also symbolize determination, the ongoing commitment to persevere despite pain, setbacks, or adversity. They represent a refusal to yield, to succumb to fear or intimidation, and an insistence on continuing the journey regardless of obstacles. In the recruit's scenario, the exposure of her scar became a focal point, transforming an intended act of degradation into a demonstration of resolve. Observers who expected discomfort or hesitation instead witnessed the embodiment of determination. Someone who had already survived significant challenges and could face new ones with composure and clarity. Scars also serve as anchors of identity, linking an individual's personal history to their present self. They are markers that cannot be fabricated or erased, providing evidence of experiences that shaped skill, resilience, and mindset. For the recruit, the scar on her abdomen symbolized not just past injury, but the cumulative lessons of survival, strategic thinking, and emotional fortitude, all of which contributed to her ability to navigate the immediate challenge with confidence. The social and psychological impact of visible scars is significant. They disrupt assumptions and force observers to reconsider preconceived notions about vulnerability, capability, and strength. In the recruit's case, even those in authority, accustomed to witnessing injuries and adversity, were compelled to acknowledge the significance of her scar and the composure with which she carried herself. The mark became a silent communicator, bridging the gap between past trials and present capability, and commanding respect through its very presence. Physical marks of past battles also reinforce the principle that true strength is multidimensional. While external displays of confidence or skill are important, the internal narrative of resilience, determination, and the lessons learned from prior challenges is equally vital. Scars encapsulate this internal journey, offering proof that toughness is not superficial but forged through lived experience. Furthermore, scars teach lessons about recovery and adaptation. They indicate that injury, setback, or failure does not equate to permanent weakness, but rather provides an opportunity to learn, adjust, and return stronger. The recruit's ability to maintain composure and assert her presence despite exposure illustrates that mental toughness is reinforced by recognition of past survival and the capacity to convert experience into actionable strength. These marks also serve as symbols of courage under scrutiny. In moments designed to provoke vulnerability or shame, the visibility of a scar highlights the courage required to confront exposure, judgment, and potential ridicule. By standing confidently despite the revelation of her scar, the recruit demonstrated that true determination manifests not only in physical endurance, but also in emotional and psychological mastery. The narrative power of scars extends beyond personal experience. They influence the perceptions of those who witness them. Observers are reminded that resilience, capability, and mental toughness are often invisible until tested, and that physical evidence of past battles provides a tangible point of reference for understanding the depth of an individual's strength. In essence, scars are far more than injuries. They are symbols of survival, fortitude, and determination, conveying lessons about perseverance, courage, and resilience that resonate with both the individual who bears them and those who witness their presence, transforming moments of exposure into enduring demonstrations of power and capability. Even the most experienced observers can be humbled by unexpected strength, revealing a fundamental truth about perception, expectation, and the unpredictable nature of human capability. In the scenario of the recruit whose shirt was pulled apart during training, exposing a scar on her abdomen, the reactions of onlookers, including seasoned instructors and even the colonel, highlight how preconceptions about ability and vulnerability can be overturned in an instant. Observers often rely on superficial indicators, past behavior, or societal expectations to gauge competence, assuming that appearances or minor gestures will accurately predict outcomes. However, human strength, both physical and mental, is often masked by circumstance, overlooked due to underestimation, or misjudged because it does not conform to conventional expectations. The moment the recruit stood exposed yet composed, demonstrating unwavering confidence and control, forced even the most experienced observers to reassess their assumptions. They were compelled to recognize that true capability is revealed not in predictable or comfortable conditions, but in moments of surprise, stress, or challenge. This humbling effect underscores the importance of remaining open-minded and adaptable, as relying solely on prior experience or observation can lead to misjudgment. Observers who are accustomed to assessing performance through conventional markers may be particularly susceptible to underestimating those who defy norms or display unconventional forms of strength. In this case, the recruit's scar symbolized a history of resilience, endurance, and survival that lent her a psychological and emotional advantage invisible to those relying on surface cues. The colonel, a figure trained to evaluate competence and accustomed to witnessing extraordinary skill and resilience, experienced a moment of genuine pause, demonstrating that even expertise can be recalibrated when confronted with unexpected demonstration of strength. This scenario highlights a broader principle about human perception. The most seasoned and experienced individuals can be caught off guard by actions that challenge assumptions, disrupt patterns, or reveal latent capabilities. Such moments serve as reminders that observation and experience, while valuable, are not infallible. They illustrate that strength is often context-dependent, emerging most vividly when circumstances defy expectation and force reassessment. Furthermore, unexpected strength has the power to reshape social dynamics and hierarchies. In environments like military training, where authority, rank, and experience typically structure interactions, a single display of exceptional capability can shift perceptions, earning respect and recognition that may have previously seemed unattainable. The recruit's performance exemplified this effect, demonstrating that real power is recognized through action rather than reputation or position. Observers who had assumed weakness or hesitancy were suddenly confronted with evidence that challenged their assumptions, forcing a reevaluation not only of the individual but of their own criteria for judgment. Additionally, the humbling effect of witnessing unexpected strength reinforces the value of humility in observation and leadership. No matter how experienced or knowledgeable, observers must remain cognizant that each individual may possess untapped reserves of skill, resilience, or composure that are not immediately apparent. This recognition encourages more nuanced evaluation, open-mindedness, and attentiveness, which are essential qualities in high-pressure or dynamic environments. The moment also emphasizes the psychological dimension of perception. Observers may experience surprise, awe, or even a sense of cognitive dissonance when confronted with actions that contradict expectations. In the case of the recruit, her calm demeanor, combined with the visible scar representing past trials, created a compelling display of resilience that could not be ignored. This confrontation with reality forces a reconsideration of preconceived notions and often results in heightened respect, acknowledgement, and recalibration of social or hierarchical standing. Unexpected strength also demonstrates the interplay between physical, mental, and emotional resilience. The recruit's ability to maintain composure under scrutiny, project confidence, and respond effectively in a moment of vulnerability highlighted a multifaceted form of strength that transcends simple physical capability. Observers were humbled not only by her technical or physical skill, but by the integration of courage, composure, and self-mastery that allowed her to navigate the situation flawlessly. Moreover, the humbling experience extends lessons beyond the immediate scenario. Witnessing strength where it is least expected reinforces the principle that underestimation can lead to miscalculation and that assumptions about ability are always provisional. Observers learned that vigilance, adaptability, and respect for potential are essential, even in those who may initially appear less capable. In essence, unexpected displays of strength challenge the confidence of even the most experienced onlookers, revealing the limitations of assumptions and the importance of recognizing latent capability. The recruit's performance exemplifies how composure, courage, and mastery can overturn expectation, forcing observers to acknowledge that true strength often lies beneath the surface and can command recognition, respect, and recalibration even from those trained to assess resilience and skill with the utmost expertise.